Chargers versus Ravens Monday Night Football, the 2024 Harbaugh that is, unless the Harbaugh brothers end up meeting again in the AFC playoffs. And it's a tight game. Both quarterbacks playing well. Top of the fourth quarter, Ravens up by 1. Fourth and goal, big time catch and score by Mark Andrews. Failed 2-point attempt, Ravens up by 7. Chargers get the ball back. 3rd and 6, they're looking to get the first down to hopefully eventually even up the score. And Quentin Johnston, who as a professional wide receiver, his biggest flaw is catching the football. Drops the pass that would have kept the drive going, single-handedly killed that possession. And the domino effect was insurmountable. The Ravens, they respond with a 51-yard touchdown run by Justice Hill, going up by 14. The Chargers offense stalls out. They do end up getting the ball one more time, down 14 points. They score a touchdown, cutting the lead to 7, but by then it's too late. The onside kick fails. Ravens win. John Harbaugh, now 3-0 versus his brother Jim. One can only wonder, had Quentin Johnston, who struggled with drops last year, somehow managed to get worse in that same department this year, his second season out of TCU, had he have made that catch, perhaps the Chargers even up the score and it's a clash to the end, perhaps a different outcome? Unfortunately, we'll never know. Saquon Barkley continues to make a strong case for MVP. The NFL's leading rusher, on pace to break Eric Dickerson's single-season record. Against the Rams Sunday Night Football, over 300 yards from scrimmage along with 2 touchdowns, now holds the Eagles' all-time single-game rushing record, as well as the Eagles' franchise record of yards from scrimmage in a game. He's been the primary factor behind Philly's 7-game winning streak. And yes, we understand that the MVP award subliminally is really just the best quarterback award, with the last non-quarterback winner being Adrian Peterson in 2012. But by its very definition, most valuable player. Saquon's impact for the Eagles is right on par with Josh Allen's impact for the Bills and Jared Goff for the Detroit Lions. And what should not be forgotten is how that powerhouse that is the Eagles offense was partly constructed. The Eagles front office were beneficiaries of 2 teams, both shrugging their shoulders saying, we don't care about our star players at all. The Titans traded A.J. Brown to the Eagles for draft picks that turned into, wait for it, Treylon Burks, Roger McCreary, Nicholas Petit-Frere, and Kyle Phillips. That's like trading away your entire life savings for a non-fungible token. And meanwhile, the Giants, they allowed Saquon to walk to the Eagles for free. That's like taking out your entire life savings and tossing it out the window on the drive home. And speaking of the Giants, Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports reports that Giants GM Joe Schoen's job appears to be safe, that owner John Mara intends to keep Schoen beyond this year. And if that is the case, if I were a Giants fan, I would just take the year off next season. Instead of watching Giants games, maybe pick up a new skill, engage in hobbies that I've been putting off for years because I've been too busy watching Giants games. The Daniel Jones contract was a disaster. You allowed your superstar player to leave and join your division rival. You drafted a wide receiver instead of a quarterback. 3 years in, you've built up nothing. You're not a serious team. And star free agents know that going to the Giants is a complete waste of time. You're never going to be able to compete for a championship by the time that they are able to. That star player's prime is going to be long gone. That the only way you'll be able to sign star free agents is to grossly overpay market value to make it worth it to said player. Call it the Giants tax. And I feel bad for Brian Daboll. He's a good coach that has found himself trapped in a messy situation with a GM that knows what he's doing, that can put together a quality roster. I do believe the Giants will see some level of success with Brian Daboll as the head coach. That's never going to happen with Joe Schoen. 3 years in, he clearly doesn't know what he's doing. And as a result, the Giants organization and the fan base are suffering because of it. Meanwhile, over in Green Bay, dominant win over San Francisco, 38-10. Yes, the Niners, they were without Brock Purdy. And while it's easy to try and discredit the Packers' win, I think the hate is unjustified. Players go down, it's next man up. And when your starting quarterback goes down, it requires coaching to step up. And the Packers themselves, ironically enough, were in this very situation without starting quarterback Jordan Love for 2 games due to injury, having to rely on backup Malik Willis. What happened? Matt LaFleur and his coaching staff kicked it into high gear. Jordan Love attempts 31 passes per game. You obviously don't want that same volume for your backup. They kept it under 20 per game. They emphasized running the football, not just with their running backs, but with their backup as well. Malik Willis, because that's one of his strengths, good defensive performance. Matt LaFleur, without his starting quarterback for 2 games, coached his team to 2 wins. So we're not going to play the excuse game here. And it's not like going into the Packers game at 5-5 that you would consider the Niners a freight train. They were barely staying afloat baseline while playing Brock Purdy, Trent Williams, and Nick Bosa, who all played those first 10 games before all being out against the Packers. Jordan Mason played really well in Christian McCaffrey's absence, averaging 5 yards per carry. But the last 3 games, Jordan Mason has been put on the shelf collecting dust now that Christian McCaffrey has returned, which I guess you can justify if C-Mac has been balling, but the fact is he hasn't. When Mason was the lead back, Niners were 4th in rushing. The last 3 games since McCaffrey's return, 26th in rushing. Kyle Shanahan could make the switch to what is objectively the best back on the team, but for some reason he chooses not to. It's stubborn decisions like this to where if you're Kyle Shanahan, you can't sit there and say that you're actually giving your team the best chance to win. So as much as that loss sucked, a 28-point loss to Green Bay, in a way, Kyle Shanahan welcomed that loss with open arms. Not to say that starting Jordan Mason would solve all their problems, but not starting Jordan Mason certainly adds to their problems. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to Browns fans. No trolling, no funny business. I genuinely hate what it is that you guys have been going through for now 3 years and what you'll continue to endure for another 2 years until the Browns can get out of that Deshaun Watson contract. But for now, making the best of a crappy situation, I have pure joy watching Jameis Winston take over. That I hope for you that it brings you some level of happiness. It's fun watching the Browns with Jameis as the starter, a positive, charismatic ball of energy that appears to be infectious to his teammates, someone you just want to be around, that never fails to deliver a viral quote. I saw a video where he was preaching the good word at church once, and it does not surprise me one bit. In fact, you can hear it in his pregame and postgame interviews, the pastorism in his voice. You could be having the absolute worst day ever. When you're feeling down, just look up a Jameis Winston video. Doesn't matter which one, any one of them will do, and you will instantly feel better. He's so easy to root for, and with a personality like that playing in a snow globe setting, well, you've got an overload of happiness. Browns versus Steelers, Thursday night snowfall, classic AFC North battle, cold, physical football. Myles Garrett, he got 3 sacks on the night, pure domination. I was thoroughly impressed with some of the pass catching despite the elements. The highlight of the game was at the top of the 4th quarter on 4th and goal when Jameis took off leaping into the end zone for 6, followed by the 2-point conversion pass to David Njoku to put the 2-8 Browns up on the 8-2 Steelers, 18-6. But it didn't stop there. Pittsburgh responded with a touchdown of their own, cutting the lead down to 5. Pastor Jameis then fumbles on a sack, giving the ball back to the Steelers. They score again. Pittsburgh takes the lead. And Jameis follows that up with an interception with less than 4.5 minutes in the game. This cannot happen. But after a deep pass to George Pickens goes incomplete on 3rd down, Pickens begins to pout like a 4-year-old, whining about the Go-Gurt in their hand that they literally just asked for 2 minutes ago. Browns get it back. This is your last chance. They march up the field, and with 57 seconds left, 2nd and goal, hand off to Nick Chubb for the go-ahead score. Browns defense stalls the Steelers on offense. Their final drive, Browns win. And the Grinch that tried to steal Cleveland's joy, that is George Pickens, tried to blame the weather on the Steelers' loss. Ain't nobody got time for that. This, to me, so far is the game of the year. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.